June 11th, 2013. Another busy day off, working around the place. No, we didn't get that. See, we got the weed whip. Exchanged because the trigger thing was broke, but didn't get it up and going. We were busy. Unfortunately for TJ, he was recoating the front steps. The front steps has some water damage from since there's no gutter, just rains off, and have done a lot of wear on the front steps there over the 40 plus years. No, 30 plus years. 79, 30. And he put, we got this stuff that coats the cement, and he put the nice new coat all over it. And of course, when those spring showers came through, there was like 40% chance of raining today, and that 60% chance it's not gonna hit. But 40%, yeah, it leaked right on, and right there where it leaks, it rains off the roof. It's all gone now. But that was a lot of work for him. But when he was doing that, I was doing one of our patio doors has some water damage, and digging it out and reputtying it with some wood filler. Along the glass starting to deteriorate, and dug it all out and was fixing that, as well as the lawnmower. We took off, Gordon and I took off the carburetor and adjusted it up because it was really getting flooded out. You can, once you take off the breather, you can see down that there's a real puddle of gas, and then when we took off the carburetor, it just all ran out of the engine because it's not shutting off properly. And so we took it all apart, cleaned it, and tried to get the float mechanism kind of shuts off the gas, stops it from draining into the engine. And I think we got it, but we might have to put like an on-off switch because it's kind of just a gravity-fed engine, not a mechanical fuel pump. So it's just the gravity feeds the carburetor, feeds the engine, and like on some lawnmowers, like the lawnmower, there's an on-off switch. You can turn it on and off. I remember, like even on the motorcycle that I had, you had to remember to turn the switch on when you start to run, or run a few minutes and then die. So you got to have like an on-off switch for the gravity feed type system like that. Let's see, what else was we doing? Just did a few errands, got my hair cut, and I was thinking of something the last couple of days. Had a dream, a really vivid dream 2 days ago, and that's what I want to talk about tonight. And I want to tell the story that led up to it, and then the story, because it was, like I said, very, very vivid. And this took place in Yukon, and it was next to where I was raised, right there on 2nd Street, 611. The one house that was next to her had an elderly woman lived there for the longest time. And I think she said after she passed away, then her son moved in. But I remember living next door to her, and I remember her dog name was Gretchen. I mean, how you can remember these things all these years, but I mean, how many dogs are named Gretchen? And then of course you move up here, and it's a pretty common name because it's a German name, Gretchen. So you hear it a lot up here in the North Territories. But I remember I was talking, like I was visiting her, and I remember all the times that I've had dreams about her house. I always came into the garage because there was on our side where we lived, there was a garage door, not the big garage door you drive in, but there's a side garage door, and you'd go into that, and you could go into her house. And I've never ever remember going into her house through the front door. As always, I'd see her in the backyard, or she'd ask me in, and I'd come in through the garage door and then go into her house. And it was something to do with the cable, and then I was looking real closely at her, and she didn't have the gray white hair. And then after I was looking at her more closely, I could it's probably, since it resembled her, it was probably her daughter, and it wasn't her because she would have long passed away. It kind of reminded me of when we lived in northeast Minneapolis. There was a gal that lived next to us called Granny Mae, and she lived alone and with her and her dog. And I remember she had just pure white hair. So it was kind of like her, but that was the house there in Oklahoma City that I was actually at, inside and trying to set up a cable, some type of service for her in our trouble call. And then when I left, I was getting ready to leave, one of her neighbors came and said, "Could you come down and take a look at this?" They didn't really know what it was, and I'm always helpful. I do that a lot. If I'm at, they say a Comcast man, they'll come over. Usually a neighbor or something will come over, and if they had a question, they'll question you. And if I got time, then I can answer it. Or like the one time just run across the street and set a remote, or if something I know it's pretty simple, I'll do it. So after I was done with her, I went, and this was like 2 doors down, going south of where my mother's house was. And I remember I was looking at the clock, and I was thinking, God, I don't got that much time. I'd really like to stop in and see my mother this close. I usually didn't get to visit very often after I moved away. So I thought, I'm really this close. I'd really like to take time and see her, but I was on the clock, and I didn't really want to, and the next job to go to, and then this, person wanted me to come down. So I went down there and looked, and it was something to do with like phone cable or something. So it was nothing that was cable. So it went pretty quick, and then I walked back down, to my mother's house, and I remember it was like early in the morning, and I wasn't sure if she was awake, and I figured, well, I better call. I can't just stop in because she'd remarried, and you just don't stop in like that. It seemed like the appropriate thing to do. So when I was walking up to the house, and usually the way the house was set up is that because I couldn't see any action through the bathroom window or bedroom window, but if you walk up close enough to the house, you can see in by the front door. You can see into the kitchen, and I could see her in there in the kitchen, and so I knew she was home. So I went ahead and knocked, and for some reason I came in through the garage, and there was a lot of people there. There was mostly, I'm going to say, it was mostly the Herndons. It was like a family get together because there's people in the kitchen and people in the front room. I remember seeing I remember distinctly seeing Chuck and Eddie. I walked up to him and I was getting ready to talk to him, and so talking to him for a little bit, and then I seen like Cheryl and Lisa. Cheryl or Lisa went down the hallway, and then I could see down as I was walking down the hallway, like where my bedroom was, I could see into the bedroom, and I seen like either Lisa or Cheryl grab Uncle Lee and brought somebody over, and they was pointing like that. There's Billy, and I finally seen it was Uncle Lee because he had the black hair and the mustache, and I really wanted to see him, and someone was standing in the doorway, and I had to push him out of the doorway because I really wanted to see him because I hadn't seen him. I said, God, he looks so much like him, or in this case, he kind of looked like me, or I looked like him. And so I recognized him, and I really wanted to see him. So I just pushed whoever's in the doorway, pushed him out to the side, and I went into the room, and in dreams, and this is what's strange, is in dreams you don't really talk. Usually you're doing something or following somebody around, you're experiencing something, things are happening, but there's never really conversation. So when I tried to speak to him, I couldn't talk. It was like our throat was stifled. So I went over, gave him a big hug, and I remember whispering in his ear. I said, "Thank you for being so kind to me." And when I pulled back, I could see his eyes start to water up, and my eyes started to water up. And he held me so tight, and I was trying to push and let go of him. I tell him, I have to go now. I have to go now. And we was both just in tears. And then I woke up, and I was tears running down my face. I had to get up and blow my nose because I was so choked up. And the things I remember about Uncle Lee, like I said, he was the expression, "Thank you for being so kind to me." He was always treating me like a nephew, and it was just I hadn't thought about him in years and years, and to be so emotionally wrapped up like that is amazing. But I remember the year before I left Oklahoma, I was in rehab in eastern Oklahoma, and I had a weekend off, and they wouldn't let me come to Oklahoma City because that was too much of getting back into the groove of things. But they let me spend a weekend out at my relatives on that end of the state, and I went to stay with Uncle Lee and Pat, and that's the last I remember seeing him. I hadn't seen him in all those years. I didn't really see him later on after he had the triple bypass and like that. But around 80, that was probably 82 was the year I left, and so I'm going to say 82 was the last I seen of him. But I just wanted to share that dream with you. It was just very, very unusual to wake up in tears like that. But usually don't speak in your dreams, but I got to whisper in his ear, "Thank you for being so kind to me." Here's a song by Ozzy called "No More Tears," and this was from 91. It is one of the concerts that I did get to see with him touring. And like I said, he's regrouped with his original band, Black Sabbath. I didn't get to get the album today, but I'll see if I can get it this week. But it came out today, so 35 years, and still rocking it. Go Ozzy. June 11th, 2013. No More Tears.